Election day is Tuesday, and we've got one more candidate for governor to interview before the final vote is cast. Today, I'm sitting down with Representative Nancy Mace to talk about her path to victory, why the polls are wrong, and her final message to voters. I'm Nick Reagan, and this is We the Palmetto. We talked to Lowcountry voters. Trump was in true campaign form. Voting is officially underway. Joe Biden spoke here in the heart of downtown.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
If you'd like to join the conversation, make sure you send me an email at wcscpolitics@live5news.com. Joining me now, Representative Nancy Mace. First off, thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so we are just a couple days out now. It is Saturday. Election is on Tuesday, but it has been a long race. You announced back in August, and it's been up and down. We're just a couple days out now. How are you feeling?
According to the fake news, it's been up and down, but for us, we've been up the whole time, and we're very much looking forward to the vote on Tuesday. And our biggest message this weekend is that regardless of who you're voting for, you need to get out and vote. You cannot complain if you don't have your voices heard. And this has been pretty low turnout, especially for the Republican primary, and we're just begging people, show up on Tuesday, have your voices heard.
Yeah, I think Ron Reddy just today put out a post on X that said something like, this is now a two-person or a two-party race, if you will. The establishment with Alan Wilson and Pamela Evett and himself. Then he name-checked you and Ralph Norman and said they don't have a clear path to victory. You don't think that's right?
No, he's way off base. And of course, Ron Reddy is a foreigner. He was foreign born. I don't believe folks in our state want a foreigner head of our state. And that's something that I've heard a lot on the campaign trail. This guy is trying to buy the election with his millions of dollars, and that's not what I'm hearing from the grassroots. That is not what they want right now. They want someone who's going to fight the establishment, and we're the most conservative candidate in the race and the most effective. I have a record of delivering results. In fact, I brought home their largest infrastructure grant in state history, $195 million last year, and I'm about to beat that record. We're waiting on another grant worth about $295 million right here for the Lowcountry, and I've got a plan to eliminate the state income tax. I'm the only one with a plan to do that. And I have a plan to reduce property taxes, starting with our seniors first. And then, of course, everyone knows where I stand on corruption. The reason I didn't get the endorsement is because I stood defiant against Jeffrey Epstein, and I voted to release the files. I've been exposing judges and convicted pedophiles since I've been elected. And so it'll be up to the voters to decide. And the Lowcountry is going to have a big say in that. This congressional district gets to have a big voice in the outcome of the election on Tuesday.
Yeah, you have made your position very clear. You've been a national leader on the Epstein files, along with those three other Republicans.
Yeah.
Now, of those, though, only one of them is headed back to Congress. And
she's going to be challenged.
Yes.
And she's going to be challenged by the president on that. Now, when I ran for Congress the first time, I said I would only serve 6 years because I believe in term limits. That's what I promised the Lowcountry, and I've made good on that promise. I will not be running for Congress again after December because I said I would only do 6 years at this time, and that's what we're doing.
Of course, in the last handful of days, there's been a lot of headlines over President Donald Trump's endorsement of Pamela Evett, but there's been even more headlines about whether or not she was going to pick a lieutenant governor to run with her. We saw two other candidates have already made lieutenant governor picks. You have not made a lieutenant governor pick.
And I will not at this time until we see how the race shakes out, because it may be that I would like to ask someone who doesn't make the runoff to be on the ticket. And I think it's too premature right now as well. But Pam Evett made a big mistake. She did a deal with the President Trump. I believe she lied to him to get the endorsement. And she made this deal with the current governor's son to be her running mate. And then when I found out some of the nastiness he'd said online, and I let voters know, she started tanking in the polls. The grassroots is very upset about the endorsement. We are conservative, but we're independently conservative here in South Carolina. We don't want anyone telling us what to do. And we certainly don't want nepotism in our politics. And that's what she was bringing to the table. And so if you want more of the same that we've had for the last 10 years, more potholes, more bad roads, less money for roads and bridges, more crime, then vote for Pam Ebbett. If you want to vote for a foreigner, vote for Ram Reddy. If you want to vote for a guy that thinks that rapists should be able to sue their rape victims, vote for Ralph. That's essentially what's on the ballot this go round. And I'm someone who's bucked the party line. I don't go along with my party every single time. I've bucked the party line many times over, both parties, in fact. In fact, I was the one that tried to subpoena the sexual harassment records in Congress a couple weeks ago, and it was my own party that stopped me. I was the one that tried to subpoena Ilhan Omar's immigration records because of potential immigration fraud. It was my own party that stopped me. There's a colleague of mine who allegedly beats women. I tried to have him removed from his committees. It was my own party that stopped me. So, our neck of the woods, the Low Country, wants an independent voice, an independent conservative, and that's what they get in Nancy Mace, and that's what they've always gotten.
I do wonder, though, how you transition that into being able to work with a Republican. And obviously you are a Republican, but being able to work with the Republican House and get things passed. We've already seen Republicans have trouble within their own party here getting, say the wishes of President Trump through the state Senate.
Yeah, I've always used the bully pulpit. In fact, we just saw a couple nights ago in Newberry reject a data center. They did a 1-year moratorium on data centers in Newberry County 2 nights ago. Guess who's been leading the charge on 1-year moratoriums on data centers in the state of South Carolina? I have been. When it comes to teacher education, teacher pay, reciprocity for teacher certification, Ram Reddy followed my lead on that and on data centers. Ralph too, Alan and Pam, everyone has followed my lead on every single issue, including eliminating the state income tax, reducing property taxes. Every single one of them has waited until I have said something and then has followed my lead. And when it comes to Pam Ebbett picking the current governor's son as her lieutenant governor, I'm the one that put an end to that last night when he resigned from that as an option. So I'm very proud of the work that we've done. We are continuing at the last few days of this race, direct the attention on the issues and policies that matter to South Carolinians. And that's why I know we're going to be in the runoff, because people are with us.
Yeah, policy is something that you have tackled head on, probably more than quite a few of the other politicians that we've seen in the race. You've introduced a lot of policy. You have announced a lot of policy. But one of the attacks that you got on the debate stage was that they don't always get passed. In fact, in Congress, just one bill that you have sponsored has been signed by the president.
That's not true. Actually, okay. I've sponsored many bills, co-sponsored many bills that have passed out of the House. In fact, I had one just over a year ago.
But signed by the president.
Well, yeah, it's very rare. I mean, I've got bills stuck in the Senate right now.
Right.
I mean, we know what a dumpster fire the Senate is over there, particularly those in both parties, Democrats and Republicans alike. But, I've passed many bills.
One of the things that I want to go back to, because you've been very strong on, is the Epstein things. And, we talked back when this was blowing up a couple of months ago. One of the questions I asked you then was, who needs to be arrested? And I think at the time the answer was, well, we're still going through everything, and I'll come back to you. So I want to put it to you now. Who needs to be arrested?
I've listed names of people that need to be interviewed and deposed already. Mm-hmm. The list of co-conspirators is still redacted by the Department of Justice and still redacted by the Southern District of New York. They will not provide that information in unredacted files. Yeah. Somebody's going to need to sue for it at the end of the day because they're not providing it.
No, I just wonder, why can't we get this done? Both Republicans and Democrats have balked at this.
Massive cover-up. I mean, this has been a 2 decades-long cover-up. This is about power and control. This is about the rich and powerful and friends of the rich and powerful that don't want to be exposed. I don't think Epstein killed himself either. I mean, I think that at the end of the day, again, I'm the only one in this governor's race who stood up against pedophiles like Jeffrey Epstein. The only one. I'm the only one that stood up against cases like Donald Gresh, where we had a state and a judge that did a plea deal with a guy facing 60 years as a convicted pedophile, got 1 day in jail. So if you want someone who's going to expose the corruption, the crime, and actually come up with solutions that work, I've had more bills signed into law as a state lawmaker than I think as a member of Congress. I've worked on more bills that have been signed into law. 3 just in the last 2 years of bills that I drafted 8 years ago that just got signed into law by Governor McMaster in the last couple of years. So I work very hard. I know I can do more and be more effective as governor. than I can as a member of Congress too. And that excites me. And I very much am looking forward to using the bully pulpit, using the policy ideas I have. And in fact, every policy that I have proposed in the governor's race has come along with a bill. I've written the bill personally, not somebody on staff. I've personally written the bill to do it. And so when voters elect me on Tuesday, we're going to get right to work. The legislature doesn't have to write any bills. I will do all the work for them. I'll do it this summer. I will draft all the bills. All they have to do is go into the chamber, push a button, and vote. That's it. And that's my promise to South Carolina, is that you're going to get someone no one's going to work harder than I will for our state.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what happened, though, with redistricting, in the sense that somebody presented a bill to the State House, and it got haggled over, and obviously there are a lot of mitigating factors. And I do think that it's not quite fair to say that your record is only determined by how many bills were signed by the presidents, just to be entirely clear.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at the impact I've had on case law alone.
Right.
I mean, I show up to court cases of murder victims' families. I was just in a SILFAB hearing in York County. I show up to hearings on violent offenders, school board meetings, county council meetings. People here in the Lowcountry know that when I show up, and I'll bring you guys, I bring the local news with me, because when judges and school boards and county councils know that people are watching because they're on the local TV, that's when you start to see them behave. If you and I are not there together, then they can get away literally with murder. And it's my job to expose what's going on and ensure that people aren't taken advantage of. And we're seeing that the impact I've had in York County. We're seeing the impact I'm having in Newberry County that just did a 1-year moratorium on data centers. I was there for the Spivey murder hearing, the civil trial there. Everything that I have talked about, when I get on camera and I talk about it, all of a sudden judges and prosecutors start doing the right thing. And it'll be tenfold when I'm governor.
I don't think I've ever seen a governor, I could just be missing it, but I don't think I've seen a governor go to a court hearing.
I might be the first. And, I think it's imperative because the system is corrupt. I saw it in my own case where I don't even think SLED served a search warrant for 2 years and no one's been arrested. In fact, one of those individuals is about to get a federal indictment. So that should happen any week now. But beyond that, I mean, I've just talked to so many victims, and then I talk to seniors and I talk about property taxes, and, seniors are being pushed out of their homes because property taxes are too much. And so I show up. I show up wherever I'm asked to, I go, because I had a family a couple of months ago call me up. They were stuck in Israel when the war broke out, couldn't get home. And the State Department was not helpful. And so I said, I'm going to get on a plane. I'm going to come find you. I'm going to bring you home. Well, under a rain of fire and missiles in the air, I went to the Middle East and found this South Carolina family, and I brought them home. And not only that, I called the president when I landed. He's like, what are you doing in the Middle East? I was like, well, Mr. President, I'm evacuating South Carolina families who are stranded. And I said, but I got a favor. I need a plane. And so within 2 days, I had a plane in the air with hundreds of Americans coming home. And I will literally get on a plane and come help you if that's what it takes.
You've been also very vocal about the fact that you really only have one speed, and it is
go.
100% go. I'm just curious, how many cups of coffee do you need in the morning to get you to that go point? Half a cup.
That's it. It's half a cup. After that, it's too much. I'm bouncing off the walls. Imagine if I had a full cup of coffee in the morning, it would be out of control.
Wow. As we wrap up here, though, I just I want to know, though, should the worst happen for your campaign and you don't make it into the runoff, what would be next? I mean, would you continue to fight for some of these things that
I will not be
about?
running for Congress again. I can tell you that much. I mean, my time is up, and I mean, who knows? I don't have a script. I don't have a strategy for anything in my life. I've just done what God presents me. I mean, it's His will. It's in His hands. And when one door closes, another one opens, and we'll deal with it. After, but I don't. I just listen to what God says to me, and I head in that direction to the best of my ability.
And I don't know that if I've missed this or not, but you haven't made an endorsement for your seat for the Republican
No,
primary?
I have not. There are a lot of people running. There are a lot of establishment folks. There are some that are anti-establishment. I don't know if they have a chance, but we are putting the seat at risk if we elect the wrong person for the 1st Congressional District. When they redistricted 2 years ago, the seat only got 1 point better. And it did not get gerrymandered to plus 18 or plus 17. The only reason that I won by that large of a margin is because I know about the issues that people care about here in the Lowcountry, and I acted that way. And so I think it takes a very unique person, very unique Republican. Our district marches to the beat of its own drum, and if we get more of the same and another good old boy, then we will lose a seat to a Democrat. That is a guarantee.
All right, well, let's wrap this up here as folks head to the polls on Tuesday. And again, we've actually seen record turnout for early voting. Most of that is Democrats, though. What do you want voters to remember and why they should vote for you?
I want them to look at my record. I want them to look at my results and know that we don't always agree on everything, but we agree on about 85% of the things. And you may not like what I say or how I say it or what I wear, but eventually at the end of the day, when we get to that result, I got us there. And I can't think of another candidate running for governor that has done what I've been able to do in a short 5 years. I'm proud of my record. I'm proud of that work. And we'll continue to work hard for South Carolina in whatever capacity voters ask me to.
All right, Representative Nancy Mace, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, that's going to be it for this one. Of course, you can watch all previous and all future episodes of We the Palmetto on the Live 5 streaming service on apps like Roku and Fire TV. And you can stay subscribed anywhere you get your podcast. I've got interviews with all of the candidates up there, so you can do your homework before Tuesday night. Thanks for listening, and we will see you in the next one.